Hello and welcome back. Uh, Today I'm going to run through 10 albums that were released in 1970. They are not the best albums from 1970 according to critics and fans alike, but they are the most endearing one to me. The ones I feel most emotionally attached, the ones I play the most, and the ones that will be with me till I flop. So let's get into it. And before we start, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and become part of our family. An absolute classic, Tear for the Tillerman, Cat Stevens. Uh, this is a Dutch pressing, a Dutch first pressing, gatefold, and I think it is my favorite sounding one. Right? I don't have the UK sterling or the US sterling that are reputed to be the best, but I'm quite happy with this one. Right? I've also got a German first pressing, which sounds very good as well. Right, gatefold, and this is a Spanish pressing from the late 70s, which is cut a bit louder, but it's still very good sounding, right, and very inexpensive. What can I say about this album? Right, we've got classic hits like "Hard-Headed Woman," "Wild World," "Where Did the Children Play," "Miles Through Nowhere," "Father and Son," "Sad Lisa," etc., etc. Right, there are songs that are being handed down to history that everyone should know, and if you haven't got a copy of this album, you're running late. I'm addressing mainly the youngsters of you out there. As I say, it's inexpensive, and there are many modern reissues. I think that from MoFi and from Analog Productions as well, and some others I can't remember now. But if I were you, I would just go for the vintage pressing. You won't spend much money, and you can even buy a couple of copies. It is that good. Right. Number two is Santana, Abraxas. I'm not much of a fan of Santana. In fact, this is the only album I've got. Right. Uh, because I don't like that much that fusion, right, of Caribbean Latin styles with rock is not very much to my liking. But I must admit that this album was very special to me since I bought it in my early teens, and I still play quite often. As in the case of Tear for the Tillerman, originals are cheap. This is a Dutch pressing, and it was very cheap. It was very inexpensive, and US pressings are very inexpensive as well. But if you're a real fan of the album, they're very expensive boutique label reissues. I think it's MoFi, but it goes for I think four figures, so you can imagine, right? You'll do fine with any early vintage copy. Uh, Songs here, well, I mean, Samba Party, Hope You're Feeling Better, Black Magic Woman. Although, regarding Black Magic Woman, I think I prefer the original by the early Fleetwood Mac, but this one is still amazing, right? This is an album for the years and that everyone should have on their shelves. Um, Regarding the following album, I was not going to include it, right? And it was released in 1970 as well. But earlier this week, I went to Madrid for the Paul McCartney gig, the Paul McCartney Got Back gig. Here is the ticket, as you can see. It was a fantastic concert. It was very emotional, And what surprised me the most was the fact that there was lots and lots of young kids there, late teens, early 20s, early 30s, and it really gave me the goosebumps to see all those people singing along to Hey Jude, Let It Be, to the Abbey Road medley, etc. It's also surprising to see Mr. Paul McCartney, Sir Paul McCartney, at 82, still performing for 3 hours without any interruptions. It was great. One of the best concerts I've seen, and the Beatles are certainly something else. That's why I've decided to include the Let It Be album. Right? The songs, as you know, were recorded in '68, but the album was released once the Beatles had split up. Right? You got here, Let It Be, The Long and Winding Road, Get Back, I Got a Feeling, you know them all. I have two pressings, right? This is the second UK pressing, which sounds really good to me. I never felt the need to upgrade this one. Right? Here is the original inner sleeve, right? And this is the label. I'll show you. And I've also got a German first pressing, a 1C. That sounds very good as well, right? It's even difficult to tell the difference, right? When you play them side by side, right? When you A/B them, right? So I haven't heard the US pressing, but it hasn't got a very good reputation. I don't know. I suppose you can correct me here on the comments. The Beatles had to be here, and Let It Be is here. Now, a band that I talked about when on my underrated jams video, which is Free, the UK band that had a hit called All Right Now, and they disbanded by 1975 or 76, and the guitar player died soon after. Right? It's a very sad story, and I think critics have not done justice to this band. It's very good hard rock, a great rhythm section, bass and drums, fantastic electric guitar, catchy melodies, good lyrics. And there are many I would recommend, like Heartbreaker or Fire and Water. But Fire and Water came out in 1970, so get this one. If you're tired of the hit, it's at the end of side 2, so you can always, queue up before the album ends. You got Fire and Water, you got Remember, Heavy Load, Mr. Big. There's a live version of Mr. Big in Free Live, and it's also very good. This copy, it's a German copy. It's an island copy from the late 70s. It sounds great. Island first pressings are a world of their own, but they go for silly money, right? Especially in near mint condition. This is the German pressing. Let's switch now to Sir Elton John. What can be said about Elton John that hasn't been said? I love his early period that covers from 1969 to 1975 or so. Let's say till Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, the double album. But one I'm really fond of is his 1970 second album, right? And the first one with Bernie Taupin's lyrics. It's fantastic gatefold, and I was very lucky to get this one because it's a UK first pressing and sounds better than any others I've heard. So save some money and splurge for this one. It deserves it. Songs, well, we all know Your Song, 60 Years On, Border Song, The King Must Die. Is great from start to finish. Very well crafted songs, very good writing, catchy melodies, and a fantastic album that will bring tears into your eyes. My favorite is The King Must Die, but I must say that I prefer the live version on the 1986 Sydney concert in Australia. Let's switch to the States now. Crosby, Still, Nash and Young, another classic. Deja Vu or Deja Vu, I don't know, French. This is German pressing. It's a gatefold, very heavy and sturdy cardboard with the OB. I'm not, as you know, if you've seen my videos, I'm not a fan of Japanese pressings, but this one sounds very good. But don't mind this one. I mean, you can go for early US pressings, early European pressings, UK pressings. They all sound very good. Songs we all need to know and that we should hand down to the new generations. They'll be forever with us, right? Um, Derek and the Dominoes, Eric Clapton's group or band after Cream. I'm not a true Eric Clapton fan. I must admit he is the greatest guitarist, one of the greatest. But I think there are upheavals throughout his career. Right? I prefer the time when he was in John Mayer and the Blues Breakers, his time in Cream, and Derek and the Dominoes. After that, I think that his guitar playing became more commercial, not as interesting to me or as compelling to me. I respect everybody who likes it. In fact, I bought the Unplugged album from 1993, which I consider a masterpiece. But then what I really like is his collaborations with other artists and his live performances, but not so much his studio albums. I love this one, Layla. It was a time when Eric Clapton met Duane Allman. And my God, what a getting together, right? Two of the best guitarists on earth, writing, composing, and playing blues and playing fantastic songs. And they made this double album, which is one for the ages. Right? The many copies. It doesn't sound really good. I don't think it's very well recorded, right? Because I heard different versions, and I'm not really happy with any of them. This is a German Polydor. It's a first pressing, yes, a German Polydor, which is okay. Sounds good. Songs here, well, I mean, Bell Bottom Blues, Key to the Highway, Have You Ever Loved a Woman, Little Wing, his homage to Jimi Hendrix, and of course the title track, Layla, that we all know. Creedence Clearwater Revival, late 60s. This one is from 1970. Now, this is an album everyone should have, right? No matter whether you're over 60, over 30, or under 20. The songs here are part of American history, are part of American rock music, are part of swamp music. In fact, they almost created swamp music. John Fogerty is a legend, and this is really, really good music. It sounds very simple, it sounds very easy, but oh God, how difficult it is to compose songs like this one, you know. Ramble Tumble, Before You Accuse Me, Looking Out My Back Door, Run Through the Jungle, Up Around the Bend, Who Stopped the Rain, their version of I Heard It Through the Grapevine, Marvin Gaye, As Long as I Can See the Light, it is fantastic. Cosmos Factory. This pressing is a 1983 German pressing, which sounds very good, right? I think I've told you about these presses before on a blue label. Here it is, right? The whole collection was released in 1983. They sound very smooth, very clear, very compelling, and it's a very nice sound. The US originals are louder, but I think because they're more compressed. But if you like them, I can understand it. I mean, the key factor here is the music, which makes you feel so good. It makes you, dance and enjoy yourself and sing along and, history. Mr. Van Morrison, Moondance. Not my favorite album of his. But this one is from 1970, and it's Stone Me, it's got the title track, Moondance, no filler, not a single weak link here. You got Crazy Love, Caravan, Into the Mystic, These Dreams of You, Everyone, Glad Tidings, you know them all. You need a copy of this, right? Mine is, yes, it's a Dutch pressing. It's an early Dutch pressing. Sounds very good. It was very inexpensive. If you're a true fan of the album, you can get a US copy and an early copy from Warner. That sounds great. And if you like Steve Hoffman's mastering, there is a copy. Here it is. This is tight. It's nice because it's a gatefold, right? Like the original. And it's not very much to my liking. I prefer the vintage one, but this one sounds very clear, very smooth, very detailed, and it is not very expensive around here, so I suppose it's even cheaper in the US. Right, and last but not least, my favorite album from 1970 is Genesis Trespass. I think it ranks up there with Nursery Crime and with Foxtrot. As you know, it was their second album, but the first one considered to have the true Genesis sound, right? Especially the lineup with Peter Gabriel. I love this album. It was not very well recorded. Every pressing I've heard sounds muffled or distant. There's not much you can do about it. I wouldn't spend a lot of money on this album because the improvement might not be worth it. In fact, it is the only Nick Davis's remix that I like. I think it improves on the original, and that one is very inexpensive. I've spent a lot of money on this album because it's a true favorite of mine, and I've got the Pink Scroll, the UK Pink Scroll. In fact, I've got 2 copies. Please don't ask. But the repress from the following year uses the same stampers, and it costs much less. It's the A2U B3U, right, from 1971. It's textured as well, and the sound is the same, and for a fraction of the price. Right, and that was it. I hope you like my choices. Thanks so very much for listening. Thanks for your time and for your encouragement and for your feedback. That's making me feel very good and very proud of what we're doing. Take care.